Hi all, this is Garrett, one of your area coordinators. I'm going to be walking you through the process of filling out your housing application and then going through and figuring out what it looks like to find a roommate through our roommate search tab. And then I'll kind of talk about a couple final things like room placement and then meal plans, just so that you all have a better idea of how things are going to work. So first thing you're going to do is you will be logging into your Okta profile. You'll be receiving an email from the college in order to get into this. So first thing that I'm going to show you is this is your Okta profile. When you guys log in, there's only going to be a few of these tiles. You're going to be looking for the eResLife one. So you'll click on that, and it's going to bring you to the eResLife homepage, which will look similar to this. I'm currently using the training site, and I'm using one of my RA's accounts just as an example. So it will look similar, but it won't look identical to this. The main things you're going to want to know about is you'll be using the housing overview. Later you'll be using my meal plans, and then the big thing is my roommate profile and my roommate and the roommate search. Those will be kind of the portions of this side of the page that you're going to be using after you filled out your application. So the first thing you'll notice is at the top in the center, it says recommended actions. When you click into the homepage, it's going to say manage housing applications just like this. And then there's going to be a secondary one that says apply for housing application. You can click either of these. It's going to take you to the same page. When you click that, it's probably going to ask you two questions. First question is going to be, what year are you? And then the secondary question is going to be what term. So you're an incoming freshman. The term would be 2020 fall or 2020 FA. So the first thing you would then do after that, you're going to look for 2021 housing application for incoming freshmen. And then you're going to click on the green box that'll say apply instead of reopen. So first question that you guys are going to have to answer is what residence hall you want to live in. For freshman men, your two options are Guad and St. Charles. And then for women, it's only going to be Guadalupe Hall. The past 3 years, we've had to place a group of freshmen in St. Charles. So they're going to be on the second floor of St. Charles South, and that will be an all guys freshman floor on that. It's called second, but it is the lowest residence hall floor in St. Charles. And then we'll end up having quite a few floors of girls in Guadalupe and then 2 floors of guys in Guadalupe. So guys, you can choose a preference on which one you would like. The nice thing about St. Charles is you can roll out of bed and have class just down the stairs. And I think the St. Charles atmosphere is something really cool. I'm in charge of St. Charles, so I'm a little bit biased. So you're going to go and click continue. Now you're going to be answering some preferences on room type. We will not have any freshmen living in single rooms unless you have some specific medical needs that you can address with us personally at studentlife@carroll.edu. Most rooms in Guad and St. Charles are doubles. We probably have 1 or 2 triples or quads on each floor. And then you're also going to look at your floor preference. So if you're wanting to be in St. Charles and you're a guy, second floor is the one. And then if you're in Guad, you have the options of second and third for guys. And then if you're going to be a girl, one of the incoming freshmen, you have an option of first, second, third, and ground floor. Moving on, we have a set of questions that I need you guys to fill out. This is probably the most important part of the application, because every single question that you answer truthfully will make it much, much easier for you to see what commonalities you have with other students. That way you're able to find the right roommate. So some of these I think are important. Every once in a while we have a pet on some floors, so be sure you answer that question, especially if you have an allergy. That's where you would put that in there. Other questions that I think are super important is the time you go to sleep and the time you wake up. That can be a huge issue. And also, I acknowledge that your sleep schedule might change when you come to college, but just be cognizant of that. Room cleanliness, that might also be a very useful one. And then probably lastly, kind of your expectations of how your room is going to be used. If you like to study in there, if you think your room is going to be a place where you're going to have other friends over, it's just important to make sure you're thinking about other students and how having them over into your room can impact your relationship with your roommate, especially if they're the kind of person that likes to study in their room and you're the person that likes to be very social in your room. That just can lead to other issues. Other questions that are important, answering if you would like to live with an athlete, and then if you are an athlete, answering that question. I think this is very convenient because I know a lot of our coaches try to encourage students to live with their teammates to build that team camaraderie, especially knowing a lot of the fall athletes come to school 2 weeks before orientation. I think that way you're not alone in your room. And then also acknowledging that some teams have early practice times, and so it's more convenient to not be living with someone that wakes up at 4 or 5 in the morning to go to practice. So being cognizant of that, and also jumping back to the impact of what time you wake up, I think is super important. So then you're going to move on and go continue. You're going to confirm your application. It says, I have opened, read, understood, and agreed to the enclosed terms and conditions file. Inside this file is our housing contract and our meal plan contract. So definitely click on that. It just opens up in a Word document, and read that over with your parents, or read it yourself. But it's definitely something that you should be reading. After that, you are going to submit your application. And now you are a third, maybe just a quarter of the way done with the housing process. So now that that's out of the way, the next thing you're going to go to is you're going to go over to My Roommate Profile. And what you're going to do is you are going to first turn your profile on. It should be turned off when you click into it. Turn it on. You can add a photo, put what your preferred name would be for your profile when it's viewed by everyone. And then you can do a couple different things. This little box is for giving an elevator speech about yourself. And then down here you can talk about hobbies. So like for me, I enjoy fantasy football and playing disc golf. And you could, I think other things that would be beneficial to share is maybe like what your major is, if you know what that's going to look like, any clubs that you want to join, if you're already expecting to be a big participant in like camp and go on hiking trips and go cross-country skiing with the camp program, things like that, you could add that in. And then also you could share like what your taste in music is, different things like that. That would be beneficial for someone to get to know you better. Then you're going to drop down to this part, and these are all the questions that you just answered in your application. And you're going to give other people the ability to look at your answers so that they can see basically if you two would be a good fit. So I would encourage you to have as few in the private column as possible. You can choose kind of a rough estimate of what you think valuable questions are that might kind of help you categorize who you want to live with. So like maybe sleep schedule is more important. and what time you wake up, and then room cleanliness and your room use preference. Maybe those are like the 4 most important things to you, so you're going to make those viewable for all applicants, so that if somebody sees, oh, I will have a messy room, and they want to have a clean room, like that's probably naturally not going to be a good fit. And then the My Contacts column is for those people that you end up requesting to like get into touch with, or that they request getting into touch with you. That way you can see the rest of their profile from that standpoint. And then kind of the last thing you can do is you can share different forms of contacting each other. I'd encourage you guys to at least put one of these in here. Maybe put your personal email, just so that if it's more convenient, you can communicate via email and make sure you're getting the full picture and making sure that you're kind of like having a longer conversation. But you can choose to use any of these other forms of social media, but I would definitely encourage you to like at least put in one of these. And if you don't feel comfortable sharing all your social media information, that's completely fine. But I'd encourage you to at least like put in an email so that students can contact you, especially if you're not consistently checking eRes Life, which is normal. You guys are still working on a lot of stuff online at school and things like that. So after your profile has been saved, what you can do now is you can go into the roommate search. And so there's a couple different things you can do. So you can look up all the other people, and you can search for them based on these roommate preferences. So if you're like, hey, I value my sleep, and I tend to go to sleep earlier than the average high schooler, like this might be the first thing you want to be like, oh, if the person said that they go to bed before 11, I probably want to live with them. So you're going to search. And if there is a result, you will see a list of people pop up down here. If there isn't anyone yet, then that's fine too. But you can go through and use any of these answers, or you can even use multiples to find like the right person of who you would like to live with. If those don't seem to be working, or if you know someone that you've been talking to through this Carroll 101 process that we've been doing this week, you can also just search their name. So the example I have is Dana. So Dana was the other person, one of my other RAs that I asked to create a quick login for. And so you can view a couple different things about her. That's her elevator speech. This is the second box that kind of shares more about you as a person. And then you can also click on her profile. And so these were the items that she made available to everyone to see. So these were the items that she said all applicants can view. And so moving on to that, kind of what you can do now is you're like, hey, some of these things seem like they could line up. I like the things she's talking about in her description. She seems like a nice person. You can send contact request. And so now this will send Dana a message saying, hey, Cheyenne, she wants to get in touch with you so that you guys can chat and see if you guys would be a good fit. Once Dana accepts that, then a box is going to pop up in contacts, and then that's how you can contact each other. And then if you noticed on the previous window, you can do a couple other things. So this last final part, if the two of you decide you want to live together, you can just click add to roommate group. You're going to select the session, click add, and now you guys are in a roommate group together. This jump down, as you can see, to the roommate group tab. You can create a group name. So that if you know somebody else and you want them to just search for the group name, they can do that, and you can save it. If you find someone, you can also just add them using their email. And if they have already finished the application, you'll be able to find them. If they haven't finished the application, then it's not going to be able to find them. So now you can see that now there's 3 of us in here. One thing to note, in the training site, it doesn't categorize by gender, but when you guys do this in the actual real eResLife site, everything will be categorized by gender. So if you're a male student, all the roommates that you will be able to see in the roommate search, they're only going to be guys, and then vice versa for all you ladies. Once you have done this, you're going to be done with the application basically. As soon as you have gotten your roommate group, you're basically good to go. We'll end up putting you into a room, and then we'll shoot you a message, and then you will just confirm that you guys agree to living in that room, and then the same thing will happen with your meal plan. So when you hop over here, if you aren't able to use the roommate profile and the roommate search, make sure you go over to Housing Overview, and it'll show that it's complete. But from that point forward, I think that's all I have to show you guys right now. Again, some of the things I wanted to reiterate: make sure you're answering your questions as truthfully as possible. That's the best practice for making sure you're getting placed in a room with someone that you're choosing, and knowing that they're actually going to have the same sleep habits, same study habits, same cleanliness habits as you, because that's one thing that is very important when you're living in a dorm room with another person that you haven't met previously, is getting to know the person on a personal level, but also knowing that you're going to at least have a couple different commonalities in the way you like to live. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email. You can send us emails about any of the problems you're having or any of the questions you're having at studentlife@carroll.edu, and we'll be quick to reply to emails. And I'll probably see you once or twice in these Carroll 101 sessions. So good luck, guys. I'm excited to meet all of you in August. Thanks.